Christmas story myths. Are you sure that what you have known the Christmas story to be is biblically accurate? Stick around because today we are going to talk about biblically what your nativity scene should look like. Hey everybody, welcome to Thinking Out Loud with PJ. Thanks so much for watching today. I just want to get this out of the way first. I am not here to be a Grinch. I'm not here to steal your Christmas spirit. But as you know, on this channel, it is my goal to help you think different, and it's my goal to help you think biblically. And so that's what we want to do today. Let's think biblically about the nativity scene, the Christmas story. What do we know, and what is tradition that we have accepted as truth? Well, let's get right into it today. I'm going to start off with some easy things, and then we're going to work into some things that might make us a little more uncomfortable if we really love Christmas and our nativity scenes. The first myth that I want to talk about, the first thing I want to talk about, is that Jesus was not born on December 25th. And I think for most of us, well, this is pretty obvious. Most of us probably know this, but some people who are watching might not. So let's talk about it. There's a couple of reasons why we know this. And for each of these things, I'm going to talk biblically, but we're not going to just dive terribly deep. We don't want to be here forever. So we'll touch on them, and I'm going to encourage you, go and do some study on your own and see what you can come up with. So the first one, Jesus was not born on December 25th. First of all, we know this, we would believe this, because Caesar Augustus decreed that all the world would be taxed and that you had to register in your hometown. So this meant there's a great population of people who would be traveling, and we know that it was not easy to travel then. Sometimes these trips could have taken a week or so. So it would not have made sense to have them traveling in the winter. So it would not have happened in the winter. Second of all, and here's a good one, if you just want to look into history, and that's what we're going to do a little bit today, we're going to look at history, at culture. Luke records for us that the shepherds were out watching their flocks in the field at night. And what we know is that the flocks were not in the field in the wintertime. The flocks were often in the field. They were living out in the pasture under the watch of the shepherds from early spring, probably about March, until fall. And really what we find is estimated, scholars would estimate that Jesus was actually probably born in the fall. I don't want to argue that. I'm not here for that. But we know that Jesus was not born on December 25th. And like I said, we're starting with the easier one. Second one, another one that should be a little easier for us to understand. There were not necessarily three wise men or three magi or three kings. Yes, we sing the song every Christmas, We Three Kings, and maybe that's where the tradition started. I don't know. But what we know is that there were three gifts that were brought, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and we would assume that that's probably where the tradition started. I'm not saying that there were not three, only three, but there probably were more. Eastern tradition says there were 12. So I don't know that we would ever know that answer, but when we present our three wise men in a nativity or in a Christmas play, just remember that there could have been more. And really that leads us then to our third thing that we want to talk about, our third myth. And that is that something we do know is that the wise men were not at Christ's birth. I know if you look at your nativity scene, there are probably three wise men there and their camels. And when you go to your Christmas play and the little kids do a Christmas play, there are three wise men and they're at the birth. But that is not biblically accurate. Couple of reasons. First of all, we know when we read Scripture that the wise men came from the east and they traveled to Jerusalem, and they stopped and they talked to Herod, and then from there they went on and they found Jesus. And it would have been basically impossible for them to leave from the east and travel to Jerusalem, get into Jerusalem, and find this hearing before the king. Remember, they came to the king and they told them what they were looking for. It would have been impossible for all of that to happen, and then for them to get there when Jesus was born. So we would immediately begin to assume and realize that the wise men were not there. Also, what we would believe that this happened probably after the presentation of Christ in the temple. He was older then. He was still very young, but older than a newborn. If you read Matthew 2, what does Herod do after talking to the wise men? When they don't come back to him, he freaks out and he has babies killed. But who does he have killed? He has killed babies 2 years old and younger. So what he even knew was that Jesus was probably not a newborn. Now, we would also say that probably Herod had more babies killed than he needed to. And I say that carefully. Obviously, we don't want him to have killed any, but he probably over-exaggerated the age. But what we know is that Jesus was not a baby. In fact, as you see the terms there when the wise men came to him, the term is used for that of a small child, not a baby, the Greek word there. So, again, number one, Jesus not born on December 25th. Number two, there were not necessarily three wise men, and they were not at the manger scene. Please don't get upset with me. I am not trying to steal your Christmas spirit, but I am trying to help you think biblically. Number four that I want to talk about today is that Mary might not have ridden a donkey. Mary might not have ridden a donkey, because here's what we know. We know that in the Christmas story and the account of Christ's birth that has been given in the gospel, really the only animals that are mentioned are the sheep that the shepherds were watching. That's it. There is not even a guarantee that there were any animals there. Now, of course, there's an assumption about where he was born, and so there were probably animals. And somewhere along the line, we have picked up this tradition that Mary rode a donkey, and most likely there was a donkey involved. That was one of their favorite ways to travel, but probably the donkey actually carried their luggage rather than Mary. In fact, as a pregnant young lady, it would have been very uncomfortable for her to ride that donkey, probably even more so than walking. But we have, again, this has become a tradition in our minds that we have made up that Mary rode a donkey, and we don't even know that there was a donkey there. Number five. Now we're starting to get into the ones that really push against our tradition. Number five. There is no proof that there was an inn or an innkeeper. We have this tradition that says there was no room for Jesus in the inn. Therefore, he went and stayed in the stable because that was all the room that was for him. Now, I know that when you read the Gospels, you're probably going to see the word inn, and that's where we come up with that idea. But if you take just a little bit of time and you look to the Greek and you understand what was written there, that word really is just the term for a dwelling place, especially used for the idea of a guest room. So let's think about this for a minute before you tell me, there's no way that there was no inn. Where was Joseph going? Joseph was going to Bethlehem because that was his hometown. There is almost a guaranteed possibility that Joseph had family in the area. And because of Jewish tradition, they were very much a patriarchal society. They were very much a family-oriented society. Mary and Joseph would have stayed with family. That's where the guest room comes in. They would have stayed in a guest room. There is never a mention of an innkeeper. There is only the mention of the inn. And like we said, the Greek word is for a guest room. It could be an inn, but there is no proof of that. And like I said, there seems to be more proof that that would not be the case, which really leads us to our fifth, and again, maybe one of the hardest ones for us to accept, but our fifth myth is that Jesus was born in a stable, or Jesus was born in a barn, and it seems like then we started teaching, no, it wasn't a stable, or it wasn't a barn, but it was more of a cave that was hollowed out. But if you want to take some time and look at history and look at Jewish culture at the time, you would begin to understand that a household, especially agriculturally, did not look the same as it does for us, right? We have a house and we have a barn, and for us in our mind, it's hard to separate the two. But often, because there was not a lot of room or a lot of money, houses were built 2 stories, and underneath, animals were kept in the wintertime, and upstairs was the living area. And it actually was not unusual when the house got full to begin to use the bottom, the basement area where the animals were, as a guest room. So therefore, as they began to come into their relatives' home, the relatives were full because everybody was coming back to Bethlehem. So where did Mary and Joseph stay? Mary and Joseph stayed in the bottom, in the basement, where there would have been an animal trough, a manger that Jesus was laid in. Here's what I want us to understand. I want you to look these things up for yourself. I want you to study them out. I'm not trying to ruin things for you. I'm trying to get us to think biblically. And before you start leaving all kinds of comments for me, let me tell you this. The things we've learned today change nothing. They really don't. They don't change anything about the Christmas story. You can still enjoy your Christmas songs. I love Christmas songs. I'm still going to sing those Christmas songs. You can enjoy your nativity scene. You can enjoy all of the things about Christmas, but what this should do is help us think about our traditions, think about traditionally, even as you're enjoying your nativity scene, we don't know exactly what it looked like, but maybe it causes you to just think a little bit more. And ultimately, what this does not change is this does not change who Christ is or who Christ was. This does not change the fact that Christ came and was born of humble birth. He still came into a world that he created relatively unannounced, other than the angels to the shepherds. And he still was born and put into a manger. He was born in, at the very best, the basement of a house, and put into a manger. Still, the Creator, the King of the universe, came to us of extremely humble circumstances. That's what we need to think about at Christmas. When we walk by that manger scene, I don't want this to ruin that for you. I just want us to think biblically about it and know that I'm not saying that any of this changes, because Christ still came to us by humble birth. And that's what we need to remember. Well, thanks so much for watching. I trust you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like and leave a comment below. Tell me what you thought about it. And hey, all I want for Christmas is you. I want you to click that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. Please do that. That's a huge encouragement to me. Click the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you don't miss anything. I post videos regularly. And of course, take a minute and share this video with somebody that you think would enjoy it. Thanks so much again for watching. We'll see you in the next video.